What is life? Life is basically chemistry and homeostasis is what we're going to talk about in this unit. I'm going to break it up into 3 or 4 videos so you don't have to listen to me for like 40, 50 minutes on and on and on. Sorry. But let's start about what is life. Life, all organisms that are alive basically have these subunits that they do. So they use raw materials to make energy, metabolize, and they remove waste products from their body to get rid of them. So we do this by taking in food, breaking that food down to the smallest component, and then using everything we can, and then wastes are removed. So for instance, even though we're eating, you don't really think about like your CO2, carbon dioxide that you're breathing out. Well, that's actually glucose that you've broken down and now are breathing out those carbons. When you eat foods, of course, there's going to be some stuff that you can't solubilize or break down anymore, so that's going to become fecal material or urine, and that's going to be extracted out too. And then other organisms can use those things as fuel. So if you think about it, a plant is doing photosynthesis, so it takes the carbon dioxide we breathe out with sunlight and turns that into glucose energy, and it uses some of it to grow and some of it stores, and then we eat that plant, and that's how we get our energy out. Or an animal eats that plant, we eat that animal, one or the other. Everything that's living is composed of cells. It could be one cell, like a bacteria, or it could be many cells, like us. We're about 10 billion cells put together. But one cell has the ability to be alive, or multiple cells put together. So anything from bacteria all the way up to a whale is going to be made up of just multiple cells, and these cells in their body, in large organisms called eukaryotes, will divide up to do certain tasks. So like for instance, if we look at us, we have some cells that are specialized for liver, and we have some cells that are specialized for kidney functions and brain functions. So these cells look very special and very different under the microscope, and their jobs are very different, even though they are in you. Responses to the environment. So must be able to stimulate to the environment and make appropriate changes. If you think about us globally, it's pretty easy to think about. Right now it's super hot. So what happens is our body wants to stay a certain temperature, so it sweats to keep us cool. If it got really cold, what's going to happen is our body's going to start to shiver, and that shiver is basically you rapidly burning fuel or food that you've stored up in fat to energize you and keep you alive. Exhibit development or growth. So this one makes sense because if you think about it, growth and differentiation. When you're born, you look very different from what you did now. You started out really small and you started to grow proportionately, so your arms grew at the same time, your legs grew at the same time, and it's just in response to you getting bigger and adapting. Can reproduce. You can reproduce sexually or asexually. Sexually would be 2 different partners. Asexually would be, which is the way most of the things on this planet reproduces, is asexually, is when it just divides into 2. Bacteria just divide into 2. Algae divide just 1 into 2, and that's how they reproduce. Evolve. It basically passes down different evolutionary changes over time. So for instance, if you go into a house that was built in, let's say, the late 1800s, you'll notice that the hallways are really small and the ceiling is really low. And it's because people were smaller back then. If you go into a brand new house now, you'll notice that the ceilings are really high, hallways are really wide, because some of us, including myself, are getting fatter. So we have these slight changes that occur over time. And homeostasis is what I'm going to talk about in my next video, but it's basically the ability to keep our cells regulated. And I'll talk more about that in my next video.